Okay, so we are live. Okay, so tonight's topic is never play Captain Save a Man. So, um, for those of you who don't know, I am Tiana Nichelle. I'm a serial entrepreneur, empowerment coach. I have a nonprofit, Empower Society. Let's see what else. What else? I have a mobile app, which is a directory of resources for individuals with Down syndrome and other abilities. And it gives daily empowerment and inspirational messages at 6 o'clock. So that is the gist of what I do. And I have these conversations every Thursday. You can check out previous conversations on my YouTube channel. Tiana Nichelle, the visionary. Let's see what else. I have a podcast, Empower Society Podcast, so you can listen to some empowerment messages. I actually am uploading another episode tomorrow, so you will be able to get that. So let's get into it. Tonight's topic is never play Captain Save a Man. So a lot of times, and this is what I'm gonna start with. A lot of times, we as women, because we're innately nurturers, when a man comes to us and he's like, oh, he's not in the position that maybe he wants to be in, or maybe some things have happened in his life, whatever. So a lot of times we rush in and we like, okay, let's help him out and all of these other things, right? However, we don't actually test or take time to see or even listen to whether the man actually has direction or purpose. So we will rush in and try to save him by saying, hey, maybe you should create this. Maybe you should do this. Oh, we can do this. Oh, I got you. Move in. He ain't got a place. You move him in. He ain't got a car. You let him use your car to drop you off at work when he should be dropping you off at work. I don't know why we do that part, because essentially if a man comes in and he doesn't have a whole lot of things, how do you think that the relationship is really going to go? It's going to be you putting in all the effort, you doing everything, unless he knows his purpose and he's just falling on hard times. There's a difference. But then too, you still have to be careful about overstepping your boundaries as a woman, because I'm gonna just say, when you step in and you're doing everything, a lot of times you start to take on a mother role, and he starts looking at you like a mama, instead of looking at you like his woman. Hello. So my first point is, a man without purpose cannot lead you. And if he doesn't have direction, like I said before, if he doesn't have direction, he doesn't know what he wants to do in life, he is complacent in his own life, he has not made any decisions or made any type of accomplishment in his life, like, be intentional with what he wants to do with himself, not including you. A man has to have his own goal for his life in order to lead and direct a woman in hers. And a lot of times we as women don't pay attention to that part, and we just jump in head first. And so it creates conflict in the relationship, because you're looking for him to step up and do something, but he wasn't stepping up to do nothing in the first place. So you was just like, oh, okay, out of maybe loneliness, out of you want a companion. Maybe he just seemed like a nice guy, And while those things might be okay for the time being, it will not help you in the long run. So you have to understand and actually discern, because it takes discernment, and I think discernment is really necessary when it comes to relationships. You have to exercise discernment, because you need to know what direction you're supposed to be going in, what direction you all are both supposed to be going in, and you're supposed to be watching for the signs of whether or not he is the person that you're supposed to be in relationship with. We link up with people not realizing that whatever is going on with them, whatever confusion is going on with them, is going to trickle down on us as women, and it's going to create confusion in our own lives. There's a such thing as soul ties. And when you start to sleep with that person, the energy that that person has will be like magnetic with you, and you will take on the same energy that that person has. As a transference. And I know a lot of people are probably like, yeah, no, that's not true. It really is. We as women, because we have a womb, we are carriers. We take on whatever that man gives us. Technically, that part of us is the part that's supposed to multiply whatever he gives us. So if he is a man that deals with depression, what do you think you're going to be dealing with? If he is a man that is encouraging, he is happy all the time, how do you think that you're going to feel? It's going to be the same thing, but it's going to be magnified. So you have to be careful when you are in relationship with someone, and you have to be careful when you're sleeping in connection with them. It even goes for connections with the people around you. You wind up taking on that kind of stuff. The other part is there are men who don't even know who they are, and they are walking around, messing around with different women. And that is one of the key things in a man not understanding who he is, because a man that understands his identity will not be spreading his seed everywhere. And I don't even think that women really realize that. Like, we like, oh, yeah, well, he has kids. Okay, so does he talk about these women that he's been with? First off, how many kids does he have? And is he just going around just sleeping with everyone, or is he in relationship with these women and it didn't work out? Is he open with the communication with you on what the real details surrounding these women? Because a lot of times men will hide the details, and if he can't openly communicate about what's going on with him and baby's mothers, that's a big red flag, because either he is still sleeping with them, or he doesn't want to own up to his ish. The other part is that when it comes to his identity, nobody, not even you, can give it to him. He has to find that on his own. And if he has not found that, it's going to be hard for you all to be in relationship, because he's going to be on a constant search to find himself, which means he might be messing with different women because he still feels unfulfilled. And I don't think that a lot of women really know that. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on, but I feel like we need to get wiser in our choices, so that we not walking around here with anger issues and all of this other stuff and taking it out on kids. And it will help us to be better mentally and spiritually, if we are aware of what we are, of the part that we're playing and what we're attracting. I've had these conversations with other women, and I've touched on these conversations with other men because I have male friends, and we've had conversations about a lot of different stuff and the types of women that they dated and choices that they made, and they made a lot of mistakes in their trying to find themselves season. So you just have to identify what season that man is in his life, and decide whether or not you're going to deal with it. Now, here's the other part. If you decide to deal with it, then you can't complain when he's ripping and running the streets. You can't complain when he is not, fulfilling whatever emotional needs you have, because if a man don't know his identity, how is he going to encourage you, pour into you, be there for you when you need him? He's not even there for himself, because he hasn't sat down and tried to search to find out who he truly is. So you all can comment hello for those of you who have joined. You can comment, put your thoughts in the chat. But so when I was talking about the identity part, if a man doesn't know his identity, it's like the blind leading the blind, especially if you don't know your identity. If you get into a relationship, and that's the other part, a lot of women don't even know what they want for themselves. They just want a significant other, but not realizing that you have to have your own identity separate from him in order to make the relationship work. You can't have a relationship that is codependent or depending on someone else making you happy. And a lot of people do that and then wonder why the relationship fails. Well, happiness comes from within. It does not come from another person. No one can fulfill you but you and God. That's between you and God, making a choice to be happy, get up every day, be intentional about, okay, if you pray, then pray. I talked about that before. If you meditate, then meditate. If you do affirmations, do your affirmations. Make it a daily habit of doing something that encourages you first thing in the morning. And I say that because first thing in the morning, you start to set your intentions on how the rest of your day is going to go. So if you practice that every day first thing in the morning, it's going to put you in a positive headspace. But that's just one thing. You have to start looking at, okay, what is it that I want to do with my life? What goals do I have for myself? What would I like to create? How can I serve other people? If you have kids, okay, well, what is the goal for the family? That is one of the major questions that I think a lot of people should ask themselves when they are wanting to create a family or they have a family. The family should have some type of goal. Whether you all are creating generational wealth, whether you all are, whatever it is to build your family. But these things are important. If you are dealing with, and this is the other part, identifying whether or not you have addressed your own trauma. You can't be in relationship with someone and have a healthy dynamic with someone if you have not addressed your own personal traumas. If you have not decided to go heal. There are a lot of unhealed people getting into relationships with people and damaging other people because they have not figured out that they need to go somewhere and heal first. And a lot of us as women, we do that, and we're not being, upfront and honest with ourselves about where we are emotionally. If you've been in bad relationships, or you have dealt with some type of traumatic experience, whether it be you were raped, molested, abused, you know, issues with your mom, your dad, different situations. You need to go talk to somebody, because eventually it's going to trickle down into your relationship with someone else. So, I've talked about having healthy relationships in previous lives, where you really, in order for you to have a healthy relationship, both people have to be intentional about your own personal health. Again, if you want a healthy relationship, both people have to be intentional about their own personal health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. You have to be intentional about, and you really have to work daily at that, because it doesn't end. I talked about my own journey with getting myself together after all of the different things that I had been through, and I'm looking at actually writing a book, because I feel like it can really help some other people. Writing a book on that. So I think that I've been through a lot of different experiences, and it's funny because when I've coached other women and talked to other women, they're like, you don't even look like you've been through any of this. And I'm like, one, because I made a decision to forgive, and I talk about forgiveness. Two, I made the decision not to allow those situations to define the person that I am. Three, I decided to be intentional about my own healing. And four, I have a relationship with God. So those four things is what I needed in order for me to be where I am and be the person that I am today. I was not this person 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was angry, bitter. I didn't care about anything. Like, my attitude was so jacked up. You couldn't say anything to me. It was bad. It was all bad. But I decided to get myself together, because nobody deserves to be in a relationship with someone who is completely damaged. And that's really what that is. When you are so hurt that you are numb, that is damaged. And that's where I was. So if whatever your healing journey looks like, it'll be different for everyone, but you have to be real about where you are in order to have a healthy dynamic. On the flip side, that man needs to be intentional about his healing process as well. Men go through so many things, and I did a live on Real Men Hurt Too. That is actually on my YouTube channel. I talked about the hurts that men actually go through, from not having a father, to dealing with the issues of the world, especially black men. Black men have a lot of internal struggles, and black women have a lot of internal struggles as well. And I don't understand why we're not vocal about what each other struggles with. I feel like we kind of mask it with the strong woman, I'm a strong woman type of dynamic, because I was doing that too. I had to unlearn that unhealthy behavior. But men go through a lot as well. And we say, oh, man up, that's just a part of it. But we don't realize that they're taking emotional hits and don't know how to handle that. Men are not as... So this is... Hello. This is the one thing that I've learned from having male friends, from having brothers, male cousins, all of that. But men are not emotional creatures like we are. God didn't make them to handle emotions the way that we do. Case in point, when a man goes and cheats, 9 times out of 10, a woman's gonna forgive him. A woman's gonna be like, okay, you know, we can get through this. She gonna go through her tears, her crying. She might put him out, but eventually, if that woman is truly in love with that man, she's gonna let him come back. On the flip side, if a woman cheats, 9 times out of 10, and this is really, really, it's really rare that it goes another way. But men usually cannot handle that. Why? It's because they don't have the emotional capacity that we have to handle those types of situations. So think about if they have been taking hit after hit since they were boys. So they don't necessarily talk about, you know, different struggles that they dealt with as a kid. They don't necessarily talk about a lot of things, and it's really dangerous because men do not share the way women share. So all it is doing is stacking on top of one another, and it's building. So then they become adults, and they have dealt with so much stuff that it is almost like either they are damaged in a way where they are messing with multiple women, or they have just learned how to suppress their emotions. So when they're in a relationship, they will not express truly how they feel. Some men will get along just for the sake of the relationship and never voice their opinion. That's very dangerous. And, you know, some women will be like, oh, well, you know, happy wife, happy life. But I'm like, no, you need to have a man that voices himself respectfully, and you all come to the table, because he actually needs a safe place in order to release all of the things that he has dealt with. And that's why it's actually so key for the friendship before the relationship, because then that opens the door for open communication. If you establish that part, that is very necessary. And I talked about that before, where friendships before relationships are really, really important, because the things that you learn being friends is very valuable in your relationship, and it creates that bond to where if things go left, you like, I know he got my back, I know she got my back, we not gonna let each other fail type of situation. And that's really what you need. Okay, well, he's dealing with this, you know, I'm gonna just step in. She's dealing with that. You would figure that out before you get into the relationship stages. But that is very important in order to have a healthy relationship. I talk about that too. So that's on my YouTube channel as well. But really being intentional about being healthy. There are, and I don't even know why there are women who are like, well, why is he going to counseling? I feel like a man should go to counseling. If he you said it also creates boundaries and so much understand. It does, because then you learn, you learn what to do and what not to do. You learn one another's triggers. You learn where that person has been. A lot of times, people don't take the time to get the backstory on a person. They're just like, okay, well, I like you, so I think this is gonna work. And then they get married without finding out the backstory, meeting family, all of that other stuff. Like, and then you look up and y'all falling apart because no one ever got the backstory. No one stopped to be like, okay, what was your childhood like? Women, you have to ask the man that. Men, you have to open up and tell that if that is the person that you plan on spending the rest of your life with, because it's not gonna go well if she doesn't know that information. The other part is, women, once you find out that information, and he's open with you, do not use that information against him when y'all in an argument. That's tacky. That's like horrible. And once you do that though, if you cross that line and use what he's told you against him as a weapon, he is not going to trust you again. And best to believe, he's not going to open up to you again. And if he don't open up to you and you are his wife or his woman or whatever y'all got going on, he is going to find somebody else that he will be able to open up to. And that opens the door for cheating. So, and I need men to chime in on this. Like, don't just sit silent. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think about what I'm saying. Correct me if you feel another way. But a lot of the times, men go out and cheat because they don't feel heard or seen in their relationship, just like women don't feel heard or seen in their relationships. But if he's really, like I stated before, trying to find himself, he's going to do that anyway because he's looking to fill a void. So women really have to be mindful of the person that they're with. But this is stuff that you will find out by being friends first, having these hard conversations. That's the one thing that I have learned in my dating experiences, even being a fiance, that you really have to have the hard conversations before you get to the altar, or really before the ring comes on. Because if you don't have them conversations, when that ring come on and you start having these conversations, you're going to be looking at each other like, I don't even know if I want to do this. I don't even know if we going to make it. Because stuff starts to come out and people want to rush to marriage. And that, I had this conversation previously. You have to become a wife before you become a wife. You have to become a husband before you become a husband. A part of that is creating open lines of communication and having hard conversations about all types of stuff, from upbringing to finances to previous relationships with mom, dad, kids. You have to have these conversations. Where you want to go, what do you want to do? You got to have that conversation because you need to know if y'all moving in the same direction. And a lot of times people don't find out until they've actually gotten married that they're not even on the same page. And that's really sad. If you all are not on the same page, then what are you doing? The other part is, when a man does not have purpose and when a man does not know his identity, the only place he can lead you is to the bed. I said what I said. Because he's not going to understand if you have a vision for yourself. And that's the trap that a lot of, when people are like, how did this educated woman get with a GED man? I've heard that from different coaches and pastors, and, and it's like, well, she got with that GED man because she got led to the bedroom and her vision got cloudy before she actually got to know who that man really was. So you said say it again for the people in the back. The only place that a man without purpose or an identity can lead you is to the bedroom. I stand on that. Because he don't have no other vision. He can't direct you nowhere. He is only looking for a good lay. And that's where y'all gonna be. And that's probably the only peace you gonna have in your relationship is during the times that you all are having sex. Nothing more, nothing less. And some people get into a marriage based on that and then realize that it ain't what it was supposed to be doing. He don't have no direction. And you like, well, why you not doing this? Why you not doing that? Well, he wasn't doing that before you got with him. y'all was just sleeping together and you never took the time to ask the questions to see what his head really was, and you jumped in the bed with him without even knowing what it is that he was trying to do with his life, if he wanted to do anything with his life at all. Some people don't have aspirations. Everybody don't. I think they should, but that's just my personal opinion. And so I just really believe that we as women have to be intentional about what we're doing. I think men need to do it too, but I would rather a man have that conversation. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring on a man who can actually have that conversation about intentionality, because it's very key in order to have a healthy dynamic. There are men that I've talked to and they're like, well, why I can't have a healthy relationship? You know, these women, they damaged, they done been through this, and all women are this. And it's a lot of men out there that have experienced horrible women. And women don't be believing it. But when I've had conversations with certain women, like I talked about this one woman that I had a conversation with, and she wanted a man to do all of these things, and she didn't want to do nothing. And I'm like, girl, who you? Well, I feel like he should do, and he should be. And I was like, but how you think the relationship gonna go? It's gonna be one-sided, and he gonna get tired of always doing and being, and you ain't doing nothing. What is that? Well, so then I asked her, I was like, what's your relationship like with your dad? She don't have no relationship with her dad. And that's where a lot of the issues stem from when it comes to women. A lot of women, and this is something that I talked about before, fathers give children their identity. And when the father is missing from the home, it makes it more difficult for a child to know who they are and who they're supposed to be and who they're supposed to become. So then they go through identity crisis where they're seeking out who they are, and they're not understanding who they should be, because they don't have anyone affirming them. And that's really what a father's role is to affirm their children, to give them that identity. That's not something that a woman can give. It's not. That's not the role that God gave women. It's the role that God gave men. And if you notice that a lot of boys and girls deal with identity issues, it's really stemming from them not having an active father in the home. When I have talked to a lot of women and a lot of men about their relationships with other people, and listening to the conversations and the things that they say, and then I'm like, okay, well, what's your relationship like with your mom? They're like, oh, that's my OG, and, you know, she's good. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the relationship like with your dad? Well, he wasn't really there. You know, he got kids over here. And it's just like, bingo. That is the common thread between a lot of individuals that are hurting and not having their identity or being affirmed. And so if you are, and I'm just going to say this, if you are a person that did not have your dad, because I'm going to say I had my dad for 15 years. Like 15 years of my life, I had my dad. And so those 15 years were spent with him telling me who I was, you know, and then he died when I was 15. So after that, because I went off into like a depression and dealing with like a lot of different issues, because that was like my person, I didn't handle a lot of things right. So even though at that point he had already instilled some things in me, I still needed that for my going into my adult life, my dating, because your the timeline of your life, things change, your development changes, and then when you start to be interested in boys or girls, you still need that at those affirmations, those words of encouragement. You still need that male figure in your life. And your girl did not make good dating choices in the beginning of life. Well, for the first two guys, but after that, I was like, no, I don't need no guy that's like a mama's boy and this and all of that. And it was a hot mess. You dating hood guys and hot mess, child. So a girl had to get herself together. But I say all of that to say is, I lost my way and I had to go back, but everybody doesn't have that. But I also had to be real with, okay, you know, my dad is no longer here. You said, is that something you still struggle with? Which part? My dad not being here? I don't struggle with my dad not being here. How did I deal with that hurt and that pain? Ooh, that's a good question. So, with my dad not being here, I lashed out. I was angry. I was bitter. I was a hot, fiery mess, okay? And it took, plus I had gone through some other stuff. I talk about it in previous lives. Like, I had gone through being raped, and that added on to that. So it was like, not to mention when I started dating guys who were in the streets, you stack that on top of that, it's like, it was a lot. So your girl was out here acting real niggerish. I was numb, didn't have any real feelings about anything. I was just like, you can do anything to me and it ain't gonna affect me. The thing that I used to say was, I done been through everything. So there's nothing that you can do to me that's going to hurt me. I was so damaged, it wasn't even funny. Like, and I stood on that. But how did I get past that? First off, I had to be like, okay, well, my dad did not just abandon me. Let me be real with this situation. You said that's the trauma that we don't realize. That's true. We don't really realize the type of trauma that we have significantly gone through as human beings. And that's why I always say, like, we need to be nicer to other people, because we don't know what people have been through. And everybody has been through something. And it might be small to some people, but everybody has gone through something. So you got to be kind to people, because you want people to be kind to you. You said, to this day, I say that I feel as though I'm damaged goods. But you're not damaged goods. And this is the part. So I'm going to say that, let me just say this to you. You are not damaged goods. And you've gone through a lot. Like, by that statement, you've gone through a lot. So what I would tell you is to look at what you've been through head on. Be realistic about what you have experienced. And what I did with all of those experiences that I've been through, the overall thing was, one, forgiveness. And this is not in the realm of my dad dying. This is in the realm of the world messing you up situation, where it's just added on to your pain already. So I chose to forgive those individuals who hurt me. I didn't even talk about, like, I had been in an abusive relationship too in my early 20s. So that too was a lot. It was a lot. But I made the decision to whip his tail and then leave. It took your girl a minute. I was like 22, 23, something like that. But I had to forgive. This is where it started. I forgave those people that were in my life that did what they did at those times. And it wasn't a face-to-face forgiveness situation. I just said it out loud, like, because I was tired of being angry. I was tired of being hurt. At that time, I had started drinking. Your girl didn't know what day it was at one point. You said you better have whipped his. I did. I blacked out, and then after that, I was gone. And he apologized. He cried. He did all that. Your girl was like, nigga. We'll have that conversation though. We'll have that conversation, because I'm gonna get real with that situation, because there are a lot of women that deal with abuse in relationships, verbal, physical, mental, and financial abuse. So I'm gonna do a real candid conversation about that situation. But I started with forgiveness, even with him. Like, it took a minute. It took a minute. But I was just like, I don't want to be angry no more. I don't want to. I'm sitting here hurting myself, and everybody else done moved on with their life. They happy and doing what they do, and I'm sitting here struggling. So, I made the choice to forgive, and it was me just standing in my room like, I forgive them, right? And then I was like, okay, now that I done said that, now, mind you, it's not going to necessarily make you feel good in the beginning. In the beginning, if I'm being honest, it's not. But after that, I was like, okay, well, I need to do what I need to do to make me happy. So what does that look like? And at that time, of course, I had goals. I still had goals. I didn't deviate from my goals. I still wanted to finish school. I still wanted, all of these different things. So I still decided to be intentional about accomplishing goals. But it was like, okay, what else is going to make me happy? So I just started getting to know myself. And I talked about this before, where you have to go back to the things that made you happy as a kid. Like that childlike person that never went through hurt, that never went through pain. You have to go back to that. What was it that you liked as a kid? What brought you joy? Was it playing video games? Was it, playing outside? Was it watching certain movies? Sometimes you got to go back and look at what were the things that made you happy. What were the things that you wanted to do? That 6-year-old boy or girl, what were those things that you were like, I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be a singer. That was my thing. I'm gonna be a singer. Well, that's the one thing that I did not do. I didn't even work on my craft after 18. I just, no, I didn't. But your girl is thinking about getting her voice back together so she can, sing some songs. But I'm not making an album or nothing like that. We're not doing that. But just because I love music, I love singing. So getting back to that, but doing things that make you happy. What are those things? The other part is getting help that you need. Actually talking to somebody about what it is that you feel, what you have dealt with, and it's gonna get ugly. Your girl done cried herself. You said, I bet you'll scream down out. Yes, I am an alto. Yes. So we gonna get these chords together, get them together, get out there. But yeah, like you have to talk about that. You gotta cry it out. Like, and that's the other part, because I also got a relationship with God. That's the other part. Getting a relationship with God has helped tremendously. Your girl would not be sitting here like this without that relationship. Like, I would have been in somebody's psych ward, if I'm being honest, because I was literally losing it. And people didn't even know that was in my family, in my immediate family, my extended family. Friends didn't know. I was having a whole mental battle. And this is one of the things that we're actually seeing today with other people with kids. And I even say this, like, parents think that their kids don't go through stuff. They think that their kids have an easy life because they're not paying bills. But you don't know what that kid is not saying. And those kids will keep silent, and it will carry over into adulthood if they make it that far. And they will have so many issues because they didn't have an open line of communication with anyone. And so that's why we are seeing suicide rates going up and all of these different things, because no one is addressing the fact that there are kids struggling with things that other people have done to them, and it's not being taken seriously. And they become grown but adults with all these issues. A lot of the things that we as adults deal with stems from childhood. And we're not cognizant of that. And you like, well, why is this person so damaged? Well, they done been through the ringer. You know, they done dealt with all of this different stuff. You have some people who have been in the foster care system, that have been raped by multiple people, that have dealt with getting their head knocked in before going to school every day, or seeing a mama, messing with different men, or maybe she's on drugs, or she's an alcoholic. Maybe their dad's not there, or maybe if he is there, he's stepping out on mom. Or maybe, he got another family and he's taking care of those kids. Or maybe the kids are being mean to them at school, and they're being bullied, and they don't want to say anything because they don't want to get their butts kicked for snitching. Or maybe they're being pressured to do certain things that they don't want to do, but because, whoever that person is has some power or influence over them, they wind up doing it anyway. Kids be dealing with stuff, and becoming adults with all of these issues and be messed up in their heads. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. This is like a whole process of someone's whole childhood. This is why these conversations need to be had when you are talking about having a relationship with someone, because this stuff will come up. And when this stuff comes up, you all might have to cry it out together. That's the other part, learning to be vulnerable with your partner, but you got to test those waters. Like, that's the test in friendship, the vulnerability piece. So if you're able to be vulnerable in that friendship, then you will more than likely be able to be vulnerable within a marriage. But it's necessary. And I think a lot of women really need to understand that a man needs the opportunity to be vulnerable. He needs the opportunity to let it out, because when men are boys, they're told to suppress their emotions. They are told to just man up, stop crying. it's weak to cry, you know, stuff like that. But they feel stuff too, and they're just silent, and it's so scary. And I realized that's not healthy. And then now we as women come along, well, why you not telling me what's going on? Why you not saying nothing? That's because he has been groomed to be strong. Yes, to be strong and not cry. Yes, you're a man, not cry, be strong. Stuff like that. And then men don't do that. That's the other part. How do we really know what men do? I mean, who really came up with the standard? I just want to know. I just want us to know, can we point to an actual person that told us what men really don't do? I mean, I don't see nowhere in the Bible where it says men don't cry or whatever. Like, I ain't seen it. I don't see no manual that says this. So I don't know where we got that from. That's like a societal thing, and it's really goofy because as a human being, you should want to be compassionate to someone else, and you should understand that they got the same exact emotions that you do. So when he gonna cry? Like, when is he gonna get it out? When is he gonna get out his frustration? But then we get upset when they get angry. Well, if they can't cry, what you think is gonna happen? So this is the other part. It's been acceptable for women to cry, for women to express their emotions and feelings, and you know, if we get a little angry, it's okay. But when men do it, everybody clutching their pearls and, oh my goodness, this angry black man. And I mean, we have an angry black woman complex that's attached to black women too, but it is more acceptable for us to be going off and snapping. Case in point, where was I at? Was I at the gas station? I think I was at the gas station. And this lady, she on the phone, she's talking about that my man, he ain't did this and he ain't whatever. And she talking to her girl, and she's basically like bashing her man. And then I guess the man was calling on the other line, cause child, she in the store going ballistic. You know, he ain't this, he ain't that. She yelling, screaming, having a whole fit. And I'm looking like, is all that necessary? Like, you couldn't go in your car to do that. You couldn't. It just seemed too much. But at the same time, I don't know her frustrations with the man that she with, but why are we okay with doing all of that extra in public? Why aren't we, let's just have this conversation when I get home? Or, you know what, now's not the time to talk. We can talk when we see one another. But being loud and rowdy and all of that has become a norm for black women. And this is not cool. It's not cool. It's not cute. And you teaching your kids to do the same thing. So ultimately, it's disrespecting the man. So then when you start disrespecting the man, but this the same man you want to be in a relationship with, how you think it's going to work? I don't see it working. That's why a lot of relationships are falling apart. That's why a lot of marriages are falling apart. A lot of women, we as women do a lot of talking and fussing instead of actually listening to what is going on with that man. You said it's not cute at all. It's not. It's not. It looks terrible. And we're the only people that do that to our men. We are the only ones that do that publicly to our men, and then wonder why we get treated the way we get treated as black women. We got to stop doing that, because if you want respect, you have to, you said it's embarrassing. It really is, because if you look at other cultures, they're not going around disrespecting their men publicly. You said it's combative. It is. I feel like the conversation, but I'm just gonna say like, the conversations that we have with our black men are always a conversation of what they did wrong. Instead of a conversation of I feel like, or even acknowledging the right that is done in a relationship. A lot of times we don't do that. We just go to the wrong. Or here's the other part. If you steady picking, if you angry like that, and you steady picking these men that make you angry like that, you got a problem. Something's not healthy inside of you, because you keep picking men that's got your blood pressure raised, and you out here going off, going crazy, flipping out and doing all of this and getting in his face. And then this the other part. There are a lot of women who start fights with men. And I'm gonna say that I wasn't perfect back in the day. Like, I wasn't perfect. When my ex did what he did and he was abusive in the relationship, it was some years later that we got back together. And when I tell you, I was just like pushing his buttons. I was pushing his buttons because I'm like, you did this to me, so you deserve it. It was not right. I had to double back and apologize to him once I realized my actions. But we as women will push a man's buttons and then be like, well, he hit me, he choked me, he did this. Now, it's not excusing his actions. Do not excuse the action, but at the same time, stop sitting here, jumping up in his face, doing all of this extra, and then you want to cry after something has popped off. Stop the foolishness, because you're teaching this to your kids, and your kids gonna go do this. Your daughters are doing this, and this is actually a curse, because there are a lot of women who have done this. We talking about grandmas now. Yes, provoking wrath. We're talking about grandmothers who have taught their daughters to do this, and then their daughters teach this foolishness to their daughters and to their daughters. And now you got all these generation of women doing the same doggone thing. No. Stop it. Stop it now. And then you want to be sleeping with these men, but you don't respect them. Nor do you act like you like them. Men are doing the same thing. There's a lot of men who act like they don't like women, but they sleeping with them. I don't understand it. Get yourself together. Get your mind together. Go talk to somebody. Get some help. Really, work on yourself, because then you will have a healthier dynamic. You said learn to be gentle yet assertive, but this is one of the things that have not been taught to black women. We believe that we have to be aggressive. We walk around mean mugging. I used to do that too, Lord. I'm being honest now. I would walk around mean mugging, and when a man would try to talk to me, I'd be like, oh, what you want? Why? Why are we doing this? What is it? Why do we feel like that is okay? And then be crying about, it ain't no men out here. It ain't no good men. That's a lie. That's a lie. That is a lie. You got to, what did you say? It's foolishness, gallivanting in these streets. Right, fix your face. Right, fix your face. Why are you angry, ma'am? Why? Stop it. Just stop the shenanigans. You said you done cursed the man. Man, I used to be, child, I could tell y'all some stories. This is why we had these conversations, because it's a lot of things that I have encountered with other women and talking to them and coaching them. And I'm like, this is some of the stuff that I was doing. So I want to share these stories because this stuff is not right. I understand that you have gone through a whole lot of ish in your life, but you can't walk around taking that out on everybody else, because then you wind up attracting the nonsense that you don't even want, and you're out here like, well, everybody in jail, all the good men, they either married or, you know, they this, they that. No, the good men are out there. You just mean mugging, and that's why you can't see them. Your eyes is squinted up and your nose is frowned up. You got to get yourself together so that you are not walking around pissed off at the world, because nobody deserves your pissed offness because they didn't do it. Men have to do the same thing. You got to heal. That's why I say be intentional about your healing, because if you're not intentional about your healing, then you will damage someone else, and it's definitely not right. And when you learn that those things are not right, then you need to do better. And so as women, we really need to take accountability for our own healing and for our own actions. And that's one of the biggest things that I think that a lot of women don't want to do. We'll go to our friends and talk about that man, and we'll have these conversations about, oh, this, you know what this nigga did, and all of this stuff. And it's like, ma'am, what did you do? Guys do it too. Guys will be sitting with the guys and talking mess about their women. You know she done did this. You know she done did that. Well, Negro, what did you do? What did you do? Yes, do your work. You got to work on you. You can't expect someone else to fix you. We got a lot of people that are trying to be in relationship with people and be fixed by them. Well, if I could just get a man, I'd be so much better. No, ma'am. It's going to magnify your issues when you get with a man. So, and that's the other part people don't understand, is when they get married, a lot of the issues that weren't addressed in your single season will magnify itself in a marriage. Whatever you didn't address from your childhood will magnify yourself in a marriage. Every single issue that you are struggling with will magnify if you are not intentional about your healing, or if you are not having the conversations. You cannot have a healthy relationship without the proper communication, and I stand on that, because you really have to know what you all are dealing with. Even communicating what pissed you off, and saying it in a way that's not disrespectful, not sending it trying to go off on that person. I was about to say send it up, you know, whatever. But not going on that person publicly, having the conversations, the conversations behind closed doors, not having the conversations in front of your friends, your family, whoever, and then bashing that man. That is not cool. We have to stop doing that. And we wonder why, and this is the other part. There are black women, and I'm not going to say all black women are like this, who are like, well, why did this man go off and he with a white woman? And here's the other part. a lot of black men who have dealt with a lot of different issues, they might be at a point where they're tired of being bashed by women. Now, some of these issues might have come from their issues with their mother, because their mother might have been very dominant, and so they're looking for someone that they can be vulnerable with. Hence, the white woman. Hence, a Hispanic woman, because they're able to be more vulnerable with these type of women. Why? Because they are grown to be wives. I feel like, and I stand on this, I said this before, that we need to start being women who groom other women to be wives. Our culture needs to do that, because we need to really see more black marriages than divorces and baby daddy, baby mama issues. And that dynamic, because that dynamic is so unhealthy, to have the mom and the dad not even in the same home. It damages the kids if they don't have a healthy dynamic, especially. But when you have an angry woman raising the children, then there's so many issues that flow from that. So we really have to get our emotions together. The other thing is bashing their dad in front of them. I do not agree with that. If you cannot have a conversation with that man, you need to get off the phone with that man or go into another room. But bashing their fathers in front of them is not cool, because if you got a boy, he's watching this, and what does that do? That makes him be like, oh, well, this is how women treat us. And then it builds up anger, resentment, animosity. In your daughters, it makes them have the same type of attitude. And then they're spewing hate and venom onto men and not cultivating good relationships because they're not seeing it. We need to normalize cultivating healthy relationships. I've said it before. I still believe that. But women, stop trying to be in relationship with a man if you have not gotten yourself together. You have to get yourself together in order to see red flags, the green flags, in order to see if that man can lead you somewhere besides the bed. If he got a purpose and know who he is. You have to stop and actually take note to what is really going on. Stop making up what a relationship is or what you think it is. And that's another part. There are a lot of women who will ask a man, okay, well, where are we going in this? Women, listen to this. You'll ask a man, so what are we doing next? And the man like, well, we having fun. I'm enjoying this. And to some women, I'm not going to say every woman, but a lot of women do think this. They'll be like, oh, well, eventually he's going to fall in love. Well, eventually he's going to have a vision for us. Eventually we're going to get married. And it'll be 5-10 years later, and that has not happened. Because you got to get realistic about where he is and stop making up what you want it to be. Plus, there's so many men out there. We got to stop getting hung up on it's not enough men. Baby, it is. It is. It's a lot of men out there. A lot of men for you to choose. Don't be listening to these men on these podcasts that be sitting up here talking about how it's not a lot of good men out here, so you gotta, you almost 40, you 50, you can't get a good man. That's a lie. That's a lie, because there are men that's trying to control the narrative and make you feel like once you reach a certain age that you are no good. I'm sorry. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Just like there's plenty of women, there are plenty of men. And you don't have to stick with one man that's not knowing his vision, his purpose, and does not have good intentions for you. Because the man that has good intentions for you is going to state his intentions. So stop being in hopeful relationships, trying to be Captain Save a Man, and get with somebody that's going to be intentional about you and not play about you. Let's normalize this. Be with somebody, ladies and gentlemen, because even men, ladies and gentlemen, be with somebody that ain't finna play about you, who gonna be like, this is what it is and this is what we doing. And especially a man needs to say, this is what we doing. And women, if he's not in that place to where he's ready to do anything or don't see nothing with him, you need to move around. And it's not moving around because of materialistic things. I do not believe in that. Y'all who be, well, he can't take me on trips. Well, if you looking to get married, it's more than just trips that he need to be taking you on. He need to be taking y'all on some counseling sessions, and y'all having some communication sessions and all of this different stuff, because it ain't gonna work just based on trips and taking selfies and videos for the gram or for Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is. You got to get beyond that. Like, if you all are trying to do life together, you're going to have to dig deeper beyond the surface. And if you're not going to dig deeper beyond the surface, then you might as well be by yourself. And don't nobody want to hear you fussing about all of the issues that you having with the man that you're deciding to be in a relationship with, that is not doing anything for you on the emotional, spiritual, and mental level. We have to stop making choices, because a lot of us as women are emotional in our choices, and we like, oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. But then you didn't stop to be like, okay, does he have a purpose? Do he know what he's supposed to be doing in life, child? Okay, did he? And it's the thing. That's why I was saying, if that man can't plan a date, I said this before, if that man can't plan a date, then y'all don't need to be going nowhere. Y'all need to be doing nothing. Like, if he can't plan one date, that first date, or meet up, or if he is like, because there's some men who will get your number, y'all talk, and then he be like, okay, where we going? Well, when we gonna see each other? And then he be like, okay, we gonna see each other on Friday. And he's like, okay, and then Friday come. I don't know what that is. Somebody was telling me about that. And then he'll like ghost you. And I was like, that's a thing? People do that? Oh, that's crazy. But Friday came, this girl, they had plans, and dude was nowhere to be found. And he pop up again like, what's up? And then do the same thing. And I was just like, girl, why is you playing with him? There's so many men out here. Get it together, child. I did not know that was a thing. That's the thing. That's crazy. But that just speaks to, there are a lot of unhealed individuals that need to go somewhere and just check into some healing before they get into a relationship. But we as women need to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So I was trying to figure out why she was so like focused on a second date. I'm like, he ghosted you on the first date, so what are you even talking about a second date for? Block? I don't know. That's just how I think. I'm sorry, but I'd have blocked him, because we not doing that. You made plans, sir. You ain't keep the plans. Bye. That's how we need to be, because it will save a lot of issues in the end. Because if he play with you on the front end, he gonna play with you the whole relationship. If you all have a relationship, he will be the man that will be like, oh, we have a relationship, and then turn around and be like, no, that ain't what I said. It's a situation, like, you know, I wasn't really looking for nothing, and you don't need all of that. And then y'all wind up having babies out of that, and it just be a whole hot mess. So, ma'am, in order for you to save yourself, because women need to learn how to save themselves in a sense where You ain't too busy trying to save that man to be in relationship with him, but you are trying to have a healthy relationship with yourself and saying, look, this is not what I'm about to deal with. This is not what I'm going to tolerate. So you don't have to deal with no baby daddy, baby mama dynamic, put some respect on my name type of situation. You know, you got to do that. That's all I'm saying. We got to get it together. Stop making up stuff. Stop saying y'all together when he ain't said that y'all together. If that man ain't confirmed that y'all together, y'all is not together. And if you trying to be together with somebody, then you need to leave that man and get with somebody who's gonna want to be with you. That part. I don't know why we as women do stuff like that. It's goofy. Because you can't trick a man into being in a relationship with you or being intentional about you. You can't. I don't care how much sleeping with him you do, how much cooking you do, how much whatever it is that you do, taking care of his bills. I don't know why you paying the man's bills, but don't pay the man's bills, okay? Y'all not married. Do not be going around here paying his rent, his mortgage, his car notes, and this man ain't even serious about you. Just stop it. Then procreating, and I know that's something that sometimes be a oops moment because you done did the do, but here it is. This man is just having fun. He's in his fun season. That's why I said in the beginning, you got to understand what season that man is in. He's in his fun season, and there's a oops. And now you're pregnant. And now you are baby mama. And so you now are like, okay, so what we doing? It's a baby on the way. It's not going to change his mind because we have to realize that men don't even go through the same emotions we go through when we're pregnant. They don't. They don't feel nothing that we feel when we're pregnant. They don't understand that whole dynamic of pregnancy. Like, the only way that a man will be into the pregnancy is, one, if he loves you. Two, if he wants that child. Even if you all are not together and he's like, okay, you know, I really want this child, then he'll be in tune with the pregnancy. But other than that, you still can't make him be in a relationship with you. It's just not a thing. If he didn't say that's what he want to do, and even if you, let's just say you're the person that initiates the relationship conversation, sometimes men will go along with that part, like, of the relationship conversation. But then once they get in it, then there's something that happens where he will resent that part. I actually just had a male friend that expressed that to me. And I was just like, Joe, why you do it? Like, why you do it? Well, that's what I thought I wanted. I'm like, okay, cool. But, and now you in a relationship and that's not what you really wanted. So there are some men that do it and then resent it in the end. But then that's when that whole pullback situation happens. When he's just like going into like I want to call it self-preservation mode, because he's like, now, okay, how did I get bamboozled into this situation and how do I get out? That's a real thing, y'all. Women, we really need to protect ourselves. That's why I'm saying this. You have to protect yourself by actually doing your due diligence and really realizing what it really is, and stop trying to save these men. Okay? Stop trying to stop it. And stop making up these scenarios of these relationships in your mind that he did not say. And then you like, well, girl, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make him love me. No, you're not. You're not going to make him do anything He's going to still do what he wants to do because of whatever season he's in. I don't care what you do. If that man is not intentional from the get-go, then there is nothing going on, hunty. That is really what it is. So you have to take inventory of the things that you are actually seeing. That's why you just can't like jump into bed with that person, because now you got blinders on. Sex clouds your judgment, and then you walking around like, oh my God, he is so wonderful because you slept with him. But then what? After that, like, what happens? Then you sitting there looking like, okay, well, what we doing next? He like, well, I'm out, you know, it was nice, had a great time, cool. And nothing else comes from it, because that's the single season that he's in. He's in his season of, he just wants to sleep with people. Like, that might be the season he's in. It may not even have nothing to do with the woman. A lot of times we as women internalize, well, maybe it was something wrong with me. Maybe, you know, I did all these things wrong. And it's not that you did anything wrong necessarily. It's that he's in a season in his life that he just wants to mess around. He is just like, I want to play. Men are like that. They like little boys sometimes. You know, that's what I say. They like little boys that want to just play, and they want to be out and they play. And we have to understand that that is their choice. But if that doesn't align with where you are and what you want to do, then you need to make a decision to move around. I don't understand why we're like, okay, I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to be, you know, ride or die. And this man ain't even set any intentions for you at all. And you doing all of these things and he ain't even said anything that he wanted. So it's like, you have to really pay attention to that, because you wind up putting yourself in situationships. I actually did a whole live on situationships, and it is on my YouTube channel, so check that one out. But you wind up in situationships and then trying to figure out how you got here with his babies and all of this other stuff. Now you mad at this man, you cussing him out, you clowning, you know, you pulling up and doing all this extra stuff when you could have just ended it and saved yourself a lot of heartbreak. So with that, women, you need to be more intentional about the man that you're with. And if he ain't as intentional, he don't have a purpose, he don't know what his purpose is. And this is when I talked about dating before, I talked about when you go on a date with a man, or a man is like making plans to go out with you or something, do that coffee shop date thing, because then you can like ask some questions. Okay, so, you know, what are your thoughts on this? Don't be like, because a lot of women be like, so what is it that you're looking for? And then, you know, he'll be like, I ain't really looking for nothing, you know, I'm just chilling, you know, looking for a friend. And then she be like, well, I'm on that too. Lying. I'm gonna just say that, y'all be lying. But he be dead serious. He is looking for a friend. But in your mind, you gonna change his mind. The other part is, you'll be at that coffee date like, well, and he's like, well, what are you looking for? And you like, I'm looking to get married. I'm looking to have kids. You know, I want like 3 kids and all of this other stuff. And he might be like, okay, because you never stated that you necessarily wanted that with him, and y'all didn't have that conversation. So he not necessarily looking at that as a red flag necessarily at that point. But if your whole conversation throughout that day is about marriage on that first date, I don't think you're going to have a second date. That's all I'm going to say. because a lot of times women do that. They'll tell a man this is this, and that's it. And if he's not there, he gone. But it's fine though, because there's other men out there. It's okay. And if that man, goes about his way, go date somebody else. And just dating is an experience, and this is what I said before, and I'm gonna be done. Dating is an experience. You're gathering data. You are learning yourself and what you want and what you need from a significant other. So enjoy the experience while you're going through it. Don't get upset and angry because you're meeting certain men. Be like, okay, well, I kind of met the same man a couple times in a row, so maybe it's something I'm doing that I maybe need to change, or maybe I'm not going and looking in the right place. Y'all stop meeting people at the club. Child, don't be meeting nobody at the club and then thinking y'all about to be all in love while you in the club. Like, no. Be mindful of where you meeting people. Because a lot of guys who are in clubs are not really looking for anything serious. They just looking to lay with you. So, ladies, stop playing Captain Save a Man. Get intentional about your healing. Start paying attention about whether he has a vision, a plan, or intentions with you. Make sure that, you are having the conversations so that you can understand where it's going, because you really need that data in order to make an informed decision on what you need to do. Stop trying to create a man's purpose, creating things for him to do, so he's not looking at you like you his mama, and then your relationship dynamic changes because you have taken on that mama role. Because you do want a fulfilling relationship, but he really needs to, have the direction, and you can help. There's nothing wrong with helping, but to create the whole shebang, don't do that. Don't do that, because that's gonna cause some issues in the long run. But with that, thank you for joining in the conversation. For those of you who have commented, I thank you for your input. And for those who would like to, like you have recommendations for other conversations, just inbox me and let me know. What else? If you would like to come on here and you have something that you want to talk about specifically, or you have a specialty, you're a therapist or a life coach or whatever, a teacher, and you have topics that you want to discuss and you want to come on. I'm open to the conversations. This is what we doing. We having open conversations. So with that, guys, you all have a great night. I will see you again next week, same time. Have a wonderful week. Also, my podcast, Empower Society podcast, is on Spotify. So the new episode will be out tomorrow, so you will be able to get some empowerment from that. Make sure that you download the Empower Society app. That is my mobile app with daily empowerment messages. And with that, I will see you. Bye.